Okay, it's time to do something I see all these millennials doing. Reactions to certain videos, basically so they can get views. Oh, a millennial's never heard of Boston before, and they're gonna more than a feeling, and they're gonna give you a video. Okay, that's not exactly what I'm doing. I got sent this video about Matt Thornton, and for my reaction, they wanted in a private message email, and I figured, what the hell, I'll just make a video about my reaction. And I sat through it. Now, okay, let's go back. Do I know who Matt Thornton is? Yeah. Um, Back when the underground was a huge thing for MMA guys, or no holds barred, really started back, I think, at no holds barred. Matt Thornton used to have a column there, and he was the Straight Blast Gym is what he set up a network of people around the world that he got along with, and they had the same sort of mentality or whatever. And at the same time, Tony Blauer was another guy who had a column, and Tony Blauer used to be considered incredible. Everybody looked up to what he had to say. It was Mr. Realism. And he's really fallen out of favor. Things have changed since the early 2000s. This is back in the early 2000s. And Matt Thornton didn't particularly himself train anybody for, that went to the UFC, but he had people who were connected to his network that were in the UFC. So that was one thing. He was a JKD guy, like a lot of people who went through certain JKD stuff. And but he became a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu cult guy, and he was switching over big time back then in that early 2000s time period. And he really got enamored with the cult, and he started doing it. A lot of people, there's a lot of reasons why people get the cult to BJJ, because you don't risk that much. You can act like you're really in a fight, but you don't really get hurt. It's not like you don't have to have the skill level you do if you're striking. Try that bullshit. Those low levels that a lot of those guys are at in a K1 gym in the Netherlands, and you're going to find yourself knocked the hell out, and probably with with damage that lasts you forever. And so, okay, so what are my reactions? So he basically said that JKD, he's left it behind because the guys didn't want to really move into realism. They didn't want to embrace actual conflict on the overall part of it. Most of the people shied away from actual contesting and such. And then he really hates Salat. And I'll touch on all these. I just want to list what some of the points he came across with. And he went through a long explanation why he philosophically, could no longer be with JKD, and use that as his moniker, basically. But I guess he's still keeping the Straight Blast aspect for the name. And then I saw somebody sent me saying that he talked to Richard or Burton Richardson. I always want to say that backwards. Burton Richardson about some of this. Burton, I never met Burton. I've known about him. I've heard about him. I know that he fought with the Dog Brothers, which were Dan and Asanto split off originally. Yeah, Paul Vunak would not fight with them. He got asked several times, and he didn't do it. Mark Denny actually asked him. Mark Denny was his manager at one point in time. Just to give you guys some JKD background here on all this stuff that I know, even though our branch was never affiliated with those people. And so there were a lot of people who were doing, we're doing the real stuff, but who really didn't put themselves in contest to prove it. Dog Brothers did, is what I'm getting to. One, and there were quite a few people who wanted, and Burton did that, and subsequently moved on and from California to Hawaii, I think. And anyway, so Matt Thornton didn't do that. He didn't get into the Dog Brother part of it. He didn't do other stuff. He was not a professional boxer. Was not a professional kickboxer. MMA started, I think, when he figured he was too old. By the way, he looks older than hell, in my opinion. At this point, I didn't even realize it was him until I heard him start speaking. I was like, my God, it's not the image I had of him, because I had seen him in the early 2000s, in video, not in person. But anyway, so here's what my reactions to his stuff. Okay. Oh, he left behind JKD. Really? Jesus Christ. You dumb bastards. I did that back in the 90s. Bruce said, it's only a name. Walk on, brother. Walk on. A lot of people couldn't handle that. I will give credit to Jerry Beasley, which a lot of these guys don't ever want to talk about, because he was with Joe Louis, and that he supported that. That was my direction. My path was to go on beyond what Bruce was doing and simplify it and make it for the masses, which Bruce was not trying to do. He's making it for himself. That was a good thing. So it really, when these guys come out and act like they've done something incredible, and they made this break, this schism with the JKD dogma, it's like, what the hell? Did you people not see what the fuck I was doing back in the mid 90s? And I broke, and I left that shit behind long ago, because it is just a name, and there are better ways. And I looked at the fighting cultures, and something I had that those guys did not have is I had a huge background in professional fighting, and actually went on further than most anyone of the. Eric is the only guy who actually fought, who was a JKD guy and went to high levels, and was a good guy. And his combat submission wrestling, I think that's what it's called, combat CSW, right? He's worked with Josh Barnett for quite a while and some other guys. He's a good guy, Besides that, I don't really know any of the people who went with a big background in professional fighting. Well, it's sport fighting, but it's still fighting. And I did other things. So it's really, they act like they came up with this. I had already beaten the path back in the mid 90s with all this stuff. I'd done it. I already, was a professional boxer, kickboxer, shoot boxer, did limited Muay Thai in the U.S. at that point in time, went on to fight 20 times in Thailand and Muay Thai and K1, and I, with high level guys, fought. I had titles. I fought guys ranked at the top in the world. Boxing, I did boxing. I filled in with boxing. I had a professional boxing record. Part of that's on BoxRec. You can look that up if you want to. So I was hanging out with professional fighters. I trained with professional fighters every day back when I was fighting full time. And so I had all that background, and then I did that. And then I changed things from JKD, and I was already taught a Combat JKD mindset, which was none of this, hubbub and all this other pattern stuff that doesn't work in reality. Our stuff was isomorphic. Our stuff was fluid, dynamic, alive, all these stupid words they want to say, Basically, we were like the Vikings or the Romans. It worked. What we did, we worked. If it wasn't pragmatic, we didn't use it. So from there, and then it became, when I was working and have been for a very long period of time, a subject matter expert at zero distance warfare, which basically means everything when you can't shoot, that I had to have solutions, and I had to get results, and I have, and I've done it. And people can attest to that. I do commando knife, machete classes, blunt weapons, all this stuff. I don't get caught up in the, sort of the eskrima arnis sort of thing like the people do in the Philippines, and none of that long-winded pattern stuff and knowing a bunch of different things, because I'm not trying to enslave people to me. I'm trying to give them actual results. So anyway, I had done all this. So when people come up and they send me these things, oh, what's the reaction? Matt Thornton's left JKD, big deal, big to hell deal. I left back in the 90s, and I had magazine articles and interviews that I gave out during that period of time in the late 90s about leaving behind JKD, and oh, you're a heretic and this and that. You don't understand it. Oh, I think I do. I think I do. And So what do I think about that? So I think that, like, she's nothing new. And, I did it, whatever, more than 20 years ago. Yeah. So my reaction is, and big deal. It took them this long, or up to this close to the period of time. Then secondly, no, BJJ is not an answer. And then he was saying that, it can fit into everything. I think it's maybe he's talking to Burton. No, it can't. And you got a wrong paradigm there, brother. As we would say back in the 70s, as Mike Sandlin would say, it's not operational. You can't make it work. No, I don't think you've contemplated actual warfare with a modern kit that people have to wear. No, you'll get killed. There's a reason why Vikings and the Romans did not do horizontal grappling. There's a damn good reason. You think they didn't know it existed? They did vertical grappling. Yeah, that's important. Horizontal grappling is death, equals death. So what do I have to, my big reaction here is that, like a lot of people, Joe Rogan too. Joe Rogan, BJJ guys can, they can beat anybody in single. No, they cannot. No, that's not warfare. That's sport fighting. It's limited. It's still a bunch of things that don't have anything. Rough and tumble. If you did rough and tumble against BJJ, you're going to stop them because it's going to stop all their moves because they're not. You can't do that. Yeah, well, that's real warfare. Real warfare. Real warfare is completely different, especially in the modern battlefield. It's, you have to watch out for asymmetrical situations. You also have to be trained for the worst scenarios, and you also be trained with an incredible weight that none of these guys are talking about. These guys are doing things, wearing lycra basically, or gis or whatever. You're not going to do that. They got sometimes gloves on their hands, nothing on their feet. Complete bullshit to what it's really going to happen in warfare. So, and I'm not going to explain any of it because this is, it's like ignorance is ignorance. But to say that BJJ has all the answers, no, it does not. It does not. It does not. So warfare is warfare. And if you're not going to change your paradigm to fit that, and you're going to go in with a vested interest and try to make something fit, like, jumping, spinning, taekwondo, 180 kicks, or 270s or 360s, or you're going to try to Jackie Chan and do this high energy output, which is not realistic to actual warfare either. Most people don't even talk about it because they don't know a damn thing about this. No. So to think that you left JKD behind and you moved on to being a cult guy in BJJ is not in a complete evolution, because warfare is the real evolution. That will tear away your remaining parameters, restrictions, limitations, and put things in. Is it operational? And do you have operational experience? That's what it really comes down to. That's all it comes down to. So, hey, I've been controversial. People have been pissed off at me before in the JKD communities, and they still are. But, I've got along with everybody that's real. Gene LaBelle, John Saylor, Kenny Monday. These are all sports guys. You wouldn't know the guys in the military. So the factor is that, do you have operational experience? What you're doing? Will it work in the theater of actual war? Because that's the only thing that counts. The only thing that counts. Sport fighting is an abstraction. Yeah, if you make a living at it, wonderful, cool. I got nothing against it. I've done it. That's nothing. I'm not some guy saying, my stuff's too dangerous to do. No, I did high-level sport fighting for a very long time in a lot of different venues. Remember, I was supposed to fight in UFC way back. They just cut the money on me. And, at the time I was fighting for money, pointless. So that's it. So take that for what it's worth. Replay this to get the salient points out. You might think that I've digressed, but I really haven't, because it's all connected. There's a big nexus on every bit of this. So, Matt Thornton left JKD. Oh, geez. And what? Like what? What? Yeah, what? Oh, he's made a jump? What? Really? Geez, check me out in 1996. What do you think Comhrac boss was? You know, Jesus, you know, it amazes me. And for the millennials, yeah, you know, maybe you should do some research in music so you don't act like, well, my God, nobody ever told me because you never did any research, you know? Okay. So there you have it. The still, you know, pushing those buttons, strafing your brain, Rinzai to the max. You know, I'm Rinzai, baby. I'm Rinzai. And if you don't know what that means, do the research and find out, because what I've done and said, and all of this is Rinzai.